Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Whether you're a first-time founder or a seasoned business owner expanding into the beehive state, navigating Utah's business registry is literally a make-or-break first step. Today, we're going to break down the exact technical procedures, the statutory standards, and the actionable steps you need to take to properly search and clear a business name. Let's get right into it. So, are you ready to start your dream business in Utah? Let's make sure your perfect LLC name is just a click away. I mean, naming your business is incredibly exciting, right? It's the exact moment your idea starts to feel like a real, tangible brand. But hold on a second, before you start printing business cards or buying domain names, there's a very practical necessity we gotta tackle. You need to secure a legally compliant, totally unique name without dropping a single dime on expensive search services. The great news? The state of Utah actually gives you all the tools you need for absolutely free, and today we're going to master them together. Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. We'll be covering Utah LLC naming basics, a step-by-step search guide, decoding the search results, avoiding common naming mistakes, and finally, securing your LLC name. Section 1. Utah LLC Naming Basics, the rules of the game. Look, before we even touch the search database, we absolutely have to understand the strict guidelines defined in Utah law. Getting a grip on these statutory standards up front is going to save you from some seriously painful rejections down the line. So, first up are your required designators. Utah mandates that your limited liability company must include specific words or abbreviations at the very end of its name. This is just to clearly identify its business structure to the public. You can use limited liability company, limited company, or abbreviations like LLC, LLC, LC, or LC. On the flip side, and this is a big one, you are strictly prohibited from using corporate designators like Inc., Corp., or LP. Using those implies a completely different legal entity, and I guarantee the state will immediately reject your application if you try it. Beyond the designator, you've really got to watch out for restricted words. Any words that imply an affiliation with a government agency, educational institution, or financial body are strictly off limits unless you have official written approval. So, you want to use the word university or college? Well, you'll need consent from the Division of Consumer Protection for that. Trying to use bank, trust, or escrow? That requires approval from the Department of Financial Institutions. Guys, even the word Olympic requires express permission from the United States Olympic Committee. They literally do not mess around with this stuff. All right, so the absolute most crucial concept you need to grasp here is distinguishability. This is the core legal standard the state relies on. Your proposed LLC name must be distinguishable upon the state's records from any existing active entity. But what does that actually mean in the real world? Well, according to Utah's published keyword test, a name is distinguishable if one of the keywords is different, if the keywords are in a totally different sequence, if it uses a creative or artistic spelling, or if the words have a marked difference in meaning given their context. To really hammer home what distinguishability is not, let's compare USA phones as one single word versus USA phones with periods and a space. In the eyes of the Utah registry, these are the exact same name. Seriously, adding punctuation, changing capitalization, making a word plural, or throwing in an article like the or a does not magically make a name legally distinguishable. If USA phones is already taken, adding a few periods just isn't going to clear the path for you. Moving right along to Section 2, Step-by-Step Search Guide, the walkthrough. Now that we know the rules of the game, let's look at the practical application of actually finding your brand name. First things first, you'll visit the official Utah Division of Corporations portal at businessregistration.utah.gov. Once you're there, just locate the Business Entity Search tool. You'll be presented with a pretty straightforward input system where you select a search method. You can choose Starts With, Contains, or Exact Match. I highly recommend starting with contains. Businesses often register under slight spelling variants, so using contains helps you cast a much wider net. Then, simply enter your desired business name and hit search. Now, if you're doing a bit of deeper research, you can utilize the Advanced Search Options panel. By expanding this bar, you can really narrow down complex queries. You can filter by entity type, like if you're just looking at LLCs, or by entity subtype. You can even filter by domesticity to see if a company is native to Utah or if it's a foreign, out-of-state entity. You can also filter by entity status or formation date ranges. It is an incredibly powerful tool for conducting thorough due diligence, so definitely take advantage of it. All right, Section 3, Decoding the Search Results, Interpreting the Data. So, seeing names pop up in your search results is one thing, but interpreting what their legal status means for you is entirely different. Let's decode these statuses so we can understand their real-world implications. If a search result shows an entity as active, it means their renewals are filed, they're in good standing, and most importantly for you, that name is totally locked down. You absolutely cannot have it. Now, if you see delinquent, it generally means they missed an annual report but are still in a cure window. So the entity is at risk, but the name still protected. Finally, if it says expired, it means a registration has officially lapsed after continued non-renewal. But hey, here is a massive warning, and it's a crucial nuance you must remember. Just because an entity appears dissolved or expired does not instantly free up the name for you to grab. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a trap for new business owners. Utah law grants a 5-year reinstatement period for dissolved entities. That's a massive half-decade window where the name they registered under remains completely reserved for them. So do not assume a dead-looking company means a free name. Which brings us to Section 4, Avoiding Common Naming Mistakes, Navigating Pitfalls. Let's look at a few pitfalls and some pretty clever workarounds. Remember earlier when we talked about the state's creative spelling rule? Well, this is a perfectly legitimate and super clever way to achieve distinguishability if your standard name is already taken. Let's say someone already owns Diana's Creations spelled normally. If you apply for that, you'd be rejected, right? But if you apply the creative spelling rule and file as Diana's Creans using the actual number 8, the state's published keyword test considers that distinguishable. It's a fantastic workaround when you are just deeply attached to a specific brand identity. Here is another massive pitfall to avoid: thinking the state database is the only database that matters. The Utah Entity Search tool only clears your name for state registration. It does absolutely nothing, and I mean nothing, to protect you from federal trademark infringement claims. Before you finalize your LLC, you must take your proposed name over to uspto.gov and check the federal trademark database. Also, it's a great time to do a quick web search to ensure the matching .com domain name is actually available for your future website. Clearing Utah just means you can legally open your doors. Clearing the USPTO and locking down your domain means you can actually build a lasting brand without getting sued. And finally, Section 5, Securing your LLC name, Next Steps. Now let's see how all this research actually builds towards officially securing your brand. Finding the name is the research phase. Now it's time for the action phase. If you've run your search and found your perfect name, but maybe you aren't quite ready to file your official formation paperwork just yet, you need to know this number: $22. For a $22 non-refundable fee, you can file an application for reservation of business name. This legally locks down and reserves your desired name for 120 days. That buys you 4 full months of breathing room to draft your operating agreement, gather your partners, and prep your final documents without the constant anxiety of someone else snatching your brand out from under you. However, I need to clarify that this $22 reservation isn't mandatory. If you have done your search, the name is clear, and your formation documents are fully prepared right now, you can just skip the name reservation entirely. Yep, just bypass it and go straight to filing your articles of organization to officially form the LLC. Definitely don't file a name reservation at the exact same time as your formation documents. It's an unnecessary extra step and an extra fee if you're already locked, loaded, and ready to pull the trigger. As we wrap up our analysis of these state documents, please keep this educational disclaimer in mind. The information we've explored today is derived directly from the state's policies and procedures and is strictly for educational purposes. As you know, business registration involves a ton of legal and financial nuances. You should always consult a professional, like a business attorney or a CPA, for specific legal guidance tailored exactly to your unique situation. So we've covered the rules, the search techniques, how to read those tricky statuses, and exactly how to secure your name. Your perfect brand name is out there waiting on the Utah registry right now. The tools are completely free, and you now have the exact knowledge you need to use them. So, will you be the one to claim your name today before someone else does? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Get out there, do your research, and start building your Utah business.